almost all foreign airlines suspended flights to Erbil and Sulaimaniya, obeying a notice from the government in Baghdad, which controls Iraqi airspace. The ban was set to come into force at p.m. 15 o'clock GMT, on Friday. Domestic flights are still allowed, so travelers are expected to travel to Kurdistan mostly via Baghdad's airport, which will come under strain from the extra traffic. Iraq's top Shiite cleric intervened to oppose the secession of the Kurdistan region, adding to pressure on the Kurds in his first directly political sermon since early last year. Grand Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani asked the Kurdistan Regional Government, KRG, to return to the constitutional path in pursuing self-determination for the Kurdish people, a representative said in a sermon on his behalf. Turkey, which has already threatened economic sanctions and a military response to any security challenges posed by the referendum result in neighboring northern Iraq, has maintained a drumbeat of opposition to the Kurdish vote. After talks in Ankara with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Thursday, Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan said the referendum was illegitimate, and Russia and Turkey agreed that the territorial integrity of Iraq must be preserved. Turkey and Russia have strong commercial ties with the semi-autonomous Kurdish region in Iraq. But the vote has alarmed Ankara as it battles a separatist insurgency from its own large Kurdish minority. Oil lifeline. While Turkey has threatened to cut off the Kurds' oil export lifeline, a pipeline that runs through Turkish territory, Ankara has so far mostly held back from specific action against Iraqi Kurdistan. Prime Minister Binali Yildirim said Turkey would only target those who decided to hold the referendum, since Ankara would not make civilians living in northern Iraq pay the price for the vote. Kurdish officials say they can withstand an economic blockade because they are self-sufficient in power generation and fuel supply and have fertile agricultural land. They also say that 3/4 of the trucks that cross the Turkish border are heading to territory controlled by Baghdad rather than to the Kurdish region, so the Turkish and Iraqi economies would suffer from any blockade. The United Nations offered on Thursday to help resolve the problem between the KRG and Baghdad, the Iraqi Foreign Ministry said following a meeting between Foreign Minister Ibrahim al-Jafari and January Kubis, the senior UN envoy in Iraq. The United States was willing, if asked, to help facilitate talks to try to ease tensions between the two sides, U.S. State Department spokeswoman Heather Nauert said. Their autonomous region in Iraq is the closest the Kurds have come in modern times to a state. It has flourished amid Iraq's civil war but may struggle to maintain investment if it is blockaded economically. The United States, major European countries, and nearby Turkey and Iran opposed the referendum as destabilizing at a time when all sides are still fighting Islamic State. Loss of focus. A spokesman for the coalition said there had been a loss of focus in the fight against Islamic State since the referendum. The Kurds consider Monday's referendum to be an historic step in the generations-old quest for a state of their own, while Iraq considers the vote unconstitutional. Iraqi Kurdish leader Masoud Barzani has said the vote is not binding, but meant to provide a mandate for negotiations with Baghdad and neighboring countries over the peaceful secession of the region from Iraq. Baghdad has rejected talks. The Kurds say the referendum acknowledges their contribution in confronting Islamic State after it overwhelmed the Iraqi army.